We have now interrupted your regularly scheduled programming to bring you.
So anyway, it was kind of funny. Last week, me and Roscoe, we did a show that actually featured Mike Tyson in it. You know, he was tripping with Mike Jordan back in the day. But it got me to thinking about Mike Tyson as a person and the things he had to overcome to become the youngest heavyweight champion ever. But he has a very famous quote, and I'm gonna put it up real quick. He says, "Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth." And I always thought that that was a funny quote because of the way life comes at us fast and furious, and we're never ever really expecting uh, life to hit us the way that it does. And Mike is absolutely right. But we also have to have plans, or hopefully somebody's putting fire in us to be able to come that adversity. You know, we know Mike Tyson's favorite fighter of all time was Muhammad Ali, but Muhammad Ali also had a famous quote too, talking about his preparation to become heavyweight champ. He said, "I hated every minute of training, but I said, don't quit, suffer now, and live the rest of your life as a champion." No truer words were ever spoken. Sometimes you have to endure the pain of what it takes to pull yourself out of whatever situation you're in to become great later in life. But I wanted to ask you guys a question before we really got into the show. Has there ever been situations that you guys pulled yourself out of where adversity was standing in front of you, but you overcame it? We'll start with you, Roscoe.
And shit, I've been through a ton of them. Actually,
Just give us a quick example.
um, quick example. I mean, I could give you a number of them, but without getting too deep into my own personal stuff, which I don't have an issue divulging this stuff, but it's just too long of a story. But I just think that anytime I have been faced with a situation that has been adverse, and I've had to pivot in those situations where I thought I had a specific plan, a specific vision for how things were supposed to go, and it didn't quite end up turning out that way. Usually, I have in my mind that you have to kind of have a grace or set a net in your mind for the unexpected to happen. So with me, I always kind of prepare myself, if you will, for the unexpected, if that makes any sense. But in my mind, when those things that don't turn out my way end up happening, I'm usually just prepared to accept it for what it is on a emotional level, and then be able to attack my next steps from that point. So I think for me, I think the most important thing is just being able to, like I just said, take in what's happening, and then after I have taken that in, just take my next steps after that.
What about you, Eric?
I mean, to me, life is adversity. You know what I'm saying? Growing up how I grew up, in and out of shelters, abuse, seeing abuse
Mm.
on all kinds of levels. You know what I'm saying? And somehow still being here. You know what I'm saying? And I remember thinking to myself when I turned 25 years old, I was like, wow, I'm 25. Like, damn. And then when I turned 30, I'm like, I made it to 30. Like, somebody ain't came to snatch my life yet. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, you, that's all a part of the journey. You know what I'm saying? The adversities, the ups, the downs, the pain, the struggle. It defines life. You know what I'm saying? And take a quote from Batman and shit, nigga. You know what I'm saying? Suffering builds character if it's done properly. You can't judge a person because if they have their shortfalls, because everybody handles things differently. Some people thrive under it, and some people crumble underneath it. But at that same time, you gotta respect everybody for the line that they are walking. You know what I'm saying? Because if you were in their shoes, you would understand, but you're not that person. So all that you can do is just try to empathize and move along. But to me, suffering defines life.
And in your case, a rose that grew out of the concrete. What about you, Zoe?
I mean, I don't know. I guess I always look at it as just keep moving forward and keep your head up. I don't like to quit shit, so I don't know. You always have to look into it and be like, somebody else always has it worse than you, and if somebody else is still carrying on, then you shouldn't be bitching about what you have. Just make it whatever you can. You might not be able to have everything that you ever want in life, but I guarantee you can have. If you look back at things, you will have a few key things that you are very proud of. Especially if you have kids, if you stay with family, your job. I mean, you could take pride in a lot of stuff. You just have to look at it on the lighter note and not take in all the negative energy that everybody else gives off, because we live in a very materialistic world.
We very much so do. All this stuff got me thinking about two people that some of us probably grew up admiring. One of them being Maya Angelou. We know that she's a poet, laureate, counselor to a lot of young women, an author, very, very world renowned where Maya Angelou is concerned. But a lot of people are not aware that she used to be a prostitute. She was a sex worker for a time in her life. And in relation to that, she says in her late teens, soon after leaving her mother's home in San Francisco to make it on her own in Los Angeles, she found herself in the business with an older lesbian couple. She managed a brothel and its finances, and the couple turned tricks. Angelou was scared out of the industry, but years later in Stockton, California, let me pull that back up, uh, she met a sweet talking but dishonest Lou who lured her into the sex work, this time as a sex worker herself. So Maya Angelou was out there slanging that monkey. She's putting that monkey on the stroll. And even though it was for a short time, she did it. And so when we think of Maya Angelou, this is the Maya Angelou we think about. She says, stand straight up, realize who you are, that you tower over your circumstances. We live in a world right now where we just don't see people trying. Maya Angelou, for all intents and purposes, had the opportunity to just tap out on life and stay in the dregs of society. She could have been a madam forever. I'm pretty sure it was good money in it, but it was something else that was burning deep inside of her that was like, you know what? I'm good. And so I just wanted to get you guys' take on that. Like I said, I love Maya Angelou myself. Like she says, you may encounter many defeats, but you must not be defeated. That's a mindset we have to adopt. But what encouraging words can you guys give to just the people out there? Because like I said, it looks like we're in a society where people just aren't trying. They're just tapping out often and early. Kids don't even have any fire in them to do anything. It's just like, whatever, this is what it is. I'm going for it. But do you guys have any encouraging words for these young people today? People,
I
period.
I got one, and it's a song quote. I'm actually thinking about getting it tattooed on my forearm. It's from Aerosmith. Dream on. You gotta lose to know how to win.
Woo.
If you don't understand that, live
Right.
long enough, and you will. Like the quote from Maya Angelou, you're gonna keep getting your ass beat by life. That's a fact. It's going to hit you harder than any female, any boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, family member. It's going to hit you hard. But as long as you still have purpose, you will stay here. And
Right.
every day could either be hell or heaven, because heaven ain't hard to find, nor is hell. So you got to lose to know how to win.
Right. What you got for the people, Roscoe?
That was some good stuff by Peeps. Me, I guess all I have to say as far as something inspirational is to just to stay determined, I suppose, because a lot of people they'll take in, and I guess another thing I want to say is to is that one day at a time thing is actually a real thing, and it's a thing that I think people don't really look at and take in enough when they hear that stuff. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on in people's everyday, and we could get overwhelmed by just a lot of stuff, you know. So when you step back and you kind of just take in everything, take it at a one day at a time approach, and approach everything, you know, as it comes, then you'll I think live a little bit easier, take a little bit of stress off yourself. So I guess that's all I have to say is stay determined and keep the blinders on and be focused.
What about you and your young wisdom, Zoe?
I mean, I would say, you know, every time you're in a spot where you have to think about it, you know, just stop, think about it, you know, set back and look at the big picture. I mean, a lot of people go in is, like I touched on earlier with the materialisticness is the money. Money isn't everything. There's a lot more things that are way more fulfilling than money.
Wait,
Money
wait,
just
wait.
gets you.
A few years from now, we're gonna be like, crypto isn't everything, people.
But money isn't everything, and a lot of people take it to, you know, they sell their souls, or they, you know, they sell their character off for a little bit of change, and it's like, okay, yeah, you did that, but now you can just say you did that. You lost a lot of dignity just doing that. So I would think that you just need to stay focused, not care about money. You know, the best things in life are free, and you can't take none of this shit with you when you die. So what does it matter how much you've accumulated? I mean, as long as you can say you've lived a good life, and you've pressed on some people, you know, maybe show some advice to younger people, you know, get it involved in your community and start touching it down there, and it'll trickle down to everybody, man. It's pay it forward, man. You got to give it with the knowledge. Knowledge is power.
I agree. LA for Life says that Rocky scene in his movie, that's my go-to. I think what he's talking about is the Eye of the Tiger montage. You know, Eye of the Tiger is
You
the
can't go wrong with
thrill of
Rocky,
the
man. You can't go wrong with
rising
Rocky.
up
That's
to
the killer.
the college of our rivals. What you
No,
say, Eric?
I say you can't go wrong with Rocky, man. Sylvester did his thing with that, man, and just the overall message. One more thing I want to add on real quick, and I'm not trying to hog everything, but for those, I think somebody needs to hear it because it's on my soul right now. Forgive yourself.
Woo!
Yeah,
Forgive
that's a good one.
yourself.
That's a
Yes.
good
You
one.
know, even if
Amen.
the other person ain't gonna forgive you and they still holding on to it, forgive yourself.
Yeah,
Let it go. Because
don't
as
hold
long
on
as
to
you keep,
anger. You know?
man,
shit.
let it go.
I think
Yeah,
I'm
because
the
you let
person
them
that
live
needed to hear
free in
that.
your head.
Actually, I needed to hear that. That's some good stuff, peeps. That's some good stuff.
Hell yeah.
Let me see. LA for Life. She says, you, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life, but it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. Oh, she talking about Mickey.
Nah,
That was Rocky Balboa.
Was it
yeah.
Rocky?
Yeah, I know. He's talking to his son. Yeah. Yup. Look that up, man. That's a great man. If you ever need a pick me up, find that. He's talking to his son in the movie Rocky Balboa.
Well, those
Yep.
Rocky movies are very inspirational. Period. You know, I love the Rocky movies. Uh, I love the Creed movies. You know, very inspirational films, and
I
they
can
have
run up some
a
steps
very.
right now.
Say that again.
I said I can run up some steps right now.
Like about two.
He's like, let's not get
Your
that
old
far.
ass. Your
Right.
old ass. You gonna run up 2 steps.
Run up
He
the
gonna jump
steps,
on top
clutching
like
at the air, start gasping for air, like, oh my Jesus, this was a bad idea.
He do got the hoodie and the hat though.
Yeah,
You
no,
know,
I'm in there. I'm in there. I'm ready.
Roscoe be like, I ain't heard no bell. But speaking of boxing and champions and montages and stuff, I wanted to play a clip for you guys. Check it out real quick.
on, champ. You ready for next week?
Ready? Yeah. I'm ready.
Hey, I'm having a lot of money on you, man.
Well, you getting ready to be a rich nigga. You see, cause come next week, I'm knocking somebody the fuck out. You understand what I'm saying?
I understand now. It took a while, but I got it.
The reason I played that is for the reason why we came here anyway. I want to talk about the brother behind me, Mr. James Earl Jones. James Earl Jones, he suffered a debilitating speech disorder in his childhood. Because of it, Jones remained functionally mute for 8 years. If it hadn't been for the tenacity of a high school English teacher, Darth Vader might not have had much less impressive voice. He was a stutterer. He was mute. He was like the champ in Harlem Nights, but worse because he didn't even talk. And so I just wanted to talk about one of the icons of our time and how he persevered and overcame a speech impediment. Couldn't even talk, went mute, stuttering, and all this other stuff. Like, James Earl Jones probably has one of the most beautiful voices we've ever heard. Iconic, he's King Jeffrey Jaffa, from Coming to America. He's the voice of Mufasa. And more importantly to most of us, he's the voice of Darth Vader, Dark Lord of the Sith. And so when you think about this man and what he had to overcome to become what he became, let me just get y'all's take on this, because I think that's a beautiful story personally.
Yeah, no, shout out to the people who have to overcome speech impediments. I'm actually one of those people. Like it's a story that I don't get to tell people a lot. Is I'm a stutterer naturally, So me, I can definitely relate to this story because it's just one of those things. It's embarrassing to have to walk around and think about as a little kid while everybody seems to be fluid in their speech. You're kind of stammering and stuttering, and so kids will make all types of fun of you, and yeah, you it'll bring your esteem down a little bit. But yeah, no, I relate to that story a lot, and yeah, again, like you said, we wouldn't have had some of the iconic characters, or at least the voice be the same to some of these iconic characters that we've had. But yeah, no, shout out to anybody who's dealt with something like this. And I do think this speaks to like a sense of determination that we can look at and be inspired by. Like I look at something like this, and not only because I've been through something like this myself, but you could take this and it doesn't have to necessarily relate to like your speech or something like that, but take it and relate it to whatever piece of your life that you want to, and say that, hey, if he was able to overcome, somebody who's as known for their voice as much as he is, and to realize that he had to overcome something as crazy as, a speech impediment to get to that point, it's pretty inspiring. Pretty inspiring. So,
what about you, Eric? I know you love Vader.
Hey, I don't know. A lot of the kids may not know this, but there was actually a bodybuilder inside of the Vader suit, and he's British. And George Lucas was like, "Yeah, we need something a little bit more with some authority." So just imagine a British accent coming out of Darth Vader. I find your lack of faith disturbing. No, that ain't gonna work, bro. That ain't gonna work. I think ultimately, to put it into a saying, even in a loss, count a victory. You know, even in a loss, count a victory. This was his Achilles heel right there. You know, not being able to communicate, not being able to get those thoughts out. Shout out to Roscoe, man. I never even knew that about you, man. You know what I'm saying? Whenever I talk to you, man, you were always just man, you know, and you know that shows a lot of strength, man, and just being able to have guts, man, and do it. But you know what I'm saying? You know, to be able to turn your weaknesses into your strengths. You know what I'm saying? If you can acknowledge it, you can flip it. You can do it. That's the crazy part. But you gotta want to. If you don't want to, it ain't gonna happen. It's not gonna be a magic spell. It's just gonna flip shit for you. It's not. And it's gonna be hard. But it'll be worth it in the end.
What you got?
No, I just want to add this to what Peeps was saying because you're right. It does, because like with me, I actually had to like concentrate to myself, you know, to just tell myself like, you know, don't stutter, try to speak fluid, try to slow down, you know. So imagine me always having to be conscious of that as I'm being around other people. So yeah, it does take a lot of determination. And at some point I just said to hell with it too, about what other people think about me. So that was pretty much the turning point for me. So that's another thing too, is not to worry about other people's perception of you too.
One thing people need to remember is that we are our biggest critic. Everybody is your own biggest critic. So you're going to find flaws and you're going to see things that most people will probably even overlook. But this is proof that anybody can do anything, and you can come over it with the right admiration and the right way to go about just focus. I mean, you shouldn't care what other people think when you're being yourself. And that's what a lot of people misconstrue it. You know, they feel like they need to be like everybody else to fit in pocket with everybody else. And that's why you got everybody over here doing the same thing. And you find these few creative people in the mix of everything, because everybody is creative, just not everybody's being themselves.
I agree. And this is what I'll say before we get out of here. Life is always going to be full of adversities. And whatever you choose to do with them, it's an old quote by Confucius. He said, the man who says he can and the man who says he can't are both right. Just like Maya Angelou was able to overcome her stint as a sex worker, you know, she had the desire to do so. James Earl Jones overcame his speech impediment. We too. There's a quote from a anime series that I like to watch called Berserk, and in the show Berserk, the main character Guts, he comes across this supernatural knight, and the knight tells him that he has to struggle, he has to contend, he has to endure, because that is the path that leads to immortality. People give up too soon, and we have to put forth a fight in this life. And like I said at the top of the broadcast, we live in a society where people give up too quickly. There's even a scene in that movie The Mist at the end where the main character Thomas Jane, he kills off his son and two of his friends because they felt they were in a dire situation, and he didn't have a bullet to kill himself. And literally moments later, the military came and rescued them from whatever it was that was in the mist. You have to fight until there's no breath left in your lungs. You have to overcome, like I said, struggle, contend, endure, like,
Push it to the limit.
comment, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Come join us as we go in on these topics.
Right.
Warheads out.
We have now interrupted your regularly scheduled programming to bring you